We are live. All right. I have music going on in my head. You guys can just imagine it. Welcome everybody. We are here, the Flow from Ohm School Live. Hello, everyone. Hello. GP Walsh, thank you for being here with me today.
Yeah, I figured I'd come.
Yeah.
Nothing else to do. Yeah.
Let's have a little
You
chat.
sent me such a nice little invitation. So all right, I'll come. Yeah.
How can you refuse?
How could I refuse?
Well, hello to everyone from whichever platform you are joining us. We are primarily going live in GP Walsh Spiritual Teacher, the Facebook group. So if you are not in that private group, please come and join us. And if you are coming in from somewhere else, let us know, which reminds me, I have to click over to see those comments, which is great, which is helpful. And good morning, Penny. And how do you say, is that Eva?
Ava.
Ava, hello. I always wondered
Ava.
that when I said I bet. Yeah. And hello, Facebook user. All right, so today is such a broad, I want to say broad spectrum, but it would be funny then because it is about the light. We are talking about the light. And on my lovely notes here, GP, couple questions, couple comments, and right away when we were thinking about doing the show about the light, in my mind, first of all, immediately it feels good. We like to think about the light in so many ways. You know, it shows up in a million statements. My show is Light on Living. Like there's a lot of light, and reversing it, well, opposite is like darkness, or usually darkness. But right away I want to ask you, I don't know that should we think about light as being good or bad, dark and evil? Like, does light have those kind of properties? Like, what is light?
Okay, well, let's just start right out. I mean, from the point of view of physics, it's one of the most fascinating and puzzling of all things, a self-perpetuating wave, right, that doesn't run through a medium. It's very strange, right? It's very, very strange. And the speed at which it goes. Am I hearing music?
No. Well, see, now you're hearing music. No, I was just imagining it.
It's the angels.
Oh,
yeah.
The light beings have come to sing.
It must be. Oh, here, I don't know. For some reason, my iTunes started playing this nice little music in the background. I'm going, oh my God, am I dead? Yeah. Light has been in the world of spirituality a metaphor right from the get-go, right? And the thing is that it has gotten associated with evil, bad, right? The dark, and then there's the light, the goodness. There's the angel and the devil, and all darkness is the absence of light, or the absence of the reflection of light, right? Because like right now between me and the camera, there's a ton of light, right? If there wasn't, you wouldn't be able to, but you can't see it, right? Thank God, because if you wouldn't see anything, right? The same thing if you look at the moon at night, you see the moon is there and it's dark all around it. No, it's not. There's as much light around the moon as there is on the moon, but we see it on the moon. We just don't see it around the moon. Space is literally filled with it. Right, it's everywhere. Right? So that sense of dark as being some kind of an entity is just a mistake, and of course it has horrible repercussions. It justifies things like racism and the like. White skin, light skin is better. Right, and I could tell you from just having a complexion that is not particularly clear, it ain't. I look at my granddaughter's Asian skin is pure. It's like, oh my God, it's just like, no, don't give me a break. Anyway,
well, that actually, GP, that's actually a really great thing to show right there, that in the light, we see things in contrast. I think now you're getting me like wondering, do I see things in contrast? So are we saying sometimes that the light itself, when light exists, when we are in light, enlightened, we'll talk about it, but is it when it's in contrast to the light that we see it, and not that we're shining the light on things?
No, it's just the different aspects of the light.
Okay.
Simple as that. And there really is no such thing as darkness. Light permeates the entire universe. Right? But some places you see it, some places you don't, whether it's reflected or not. Right? So if there's some aspect of the light that I see, I have to see it in relationship to some other aspect of light in order for anything to be seen, or I have to see it against the background of pure light, which appears to be the absence of light, in order for the object to be seen. Right? If there's nothing but this white light, it doesn't matter how many objects are there, I cannot see them.
Right.
There has to be contrast, or there is no form. There's no life. There's nothing of what we refer to as the sense of existence or manifest existence. But it's gotten different meanings associated with it that don't belong to it, right?
Yes.
'Cause it's all light, and it's all the aspects of light, right? As simple as that, and it's never absent. And light has been forever a metaphor for consciousness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's in the light of consciousness that we see, right? Right? I mean, if it wasn't for consciousness, it wouldn't matter how much light was there. You wouldn't see it because you wouldn't be there, right?
Are our aspects reflecting? Is light reflecting on our aspects then?
No, what you call you. Yeah, this is very good. What you call your aspects are aspects of light. They don't belong to you. Where did you come from?
Right. Yes.
Light is the essence, right? When it's understood in its genuine form, which is consciousness, it becomes now even physical light gets transformed into something even bigger.
Yeah.
But light it gives everything form. I mean, it's the light of the sun that makes life possible on Earth.
Yes. Photosynthesis. We got
all of it. All energy derives itself from light. Even the fossil fuels is just the energy absorbed from light in the plants and everything else that were eaten by the critters, the dinosaurs, I guess, is or the theory as to where all the oil came from. And it all has its origination in the same place. Right? And so understanding that light and the term enlightenment, which simply means the individual has completely identified themselves with the light.
Okay.
There's no more individual. It's just light, which is actually the case.
So
And it isn't I'm going to become the light. It's a recognition that I am. That's all I've ever been.
right. That's where, and I have to bring this up because now I'm actually getting this. This is homeschooling here, guys, live right now. Okay. Because when we did a show on Buddha, and we recognize that we are Buddha, we don't become Buddha, and it's identifying. We recognize that we are the light. We are not trying to find it, become it, change it. We are identifying as the light, which is consciousness. So when we are identifying with consciousness, then that enlightenment. So we are light beings until we are enlightened beings.
Yes. Yeah, people use that phrase "light being" and it's close, right? But notice that light is undifferentiated. Different things appear in the light and gives the sense of differentiation, but light is one. It is absolutely seamless, right? So that I'm not a light being; I am light itself.
Right. Yes. Oh, because we get and you'll share this one, because if we say we're light beings, we have given it shape. And
Correct.
and if you could share that thing you share about water and light, and there's no form.
Oh, yes, right. Yes, exactly. Water Water takes it takes the shape of whatever you put it in, right? And light takes the shape of whatever it reflects against.
Right.
Right? But the light is still there. Some absorbed, some reflected. That's what we can see, right? And our entire childhood is nothing but conforming ourselves to the container of the environment of our immediate family, for to survive. And so we become that, right? And if you pour water into a beautiful wedgewood crystal glass, right? It takes the shape of that, right? If you pour it into an old shoe, it becomes the old shoe, right?
Right.
So are you the shoe, or are you the water in the shoe? If I'm the shoe, I'm stuck. If I'm the water in the shoe, I'm not stuck. I can very easily go into something else.
Oh.
I can close that chapter anytime I want, right? But if I believe I am that form into which I have been put, and that is the conditioning that we all get, that makes us believe that I am the conditioning. I have identified with the container instead of the water. That's the stuckness. That's where all the suffering arises. That's conditioning. And coming to see yourself as the water, or see yourself as the light, is the spiritual journey out of conditioning into your true self, which is completely the unconditioned infinite being. The one being, not beings, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you noticed that, because if I'm a light being, I'm one of many light beings. So that means I got a shape, I got a form. There is still separation. It's become ephemeralized, right? Like people who say, well, I'm not the body, I'm a soul in the body, right?
Yes,
And of course, then they'll fight to the death to protect the body. So in practice, they really are completely identified with the body. But then the idea is, I say, okay, great, take away the body. Then what does the soul look like? And there's just some kind of an ephemeral, basically a body I can stick my hand through, right?
Right. Yes. There's still
And maybe it can fly or something,
shape.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
I have still conformed myself. It's a much more subtle level, but I have still conformed myself to a form. And the moment I do that, I have drawn a line around me. I have kind of stepped out of the ocean and become a puddle somewhere on the street.
Yes. Oh, I think everybody should wake up every morning and say, do I believe I'm the shoe today, or the water in the So just a question, because if we were doing our radio show, we would take a few callers. And Tammy, where is it? Okay, Tammy, because this is something everybody's asking, because you just talked about the body itself. And then when we think, okay, well, I'm not the body, then I'm the soul, but then we still imagine an invisible body that we can stick our hands through. And so, Tammy, when you ask this question, what do you see? It's when I think she's asking about features, like our features. How do we I think you're asking this, like, what do we see when it's our
she's asking about her. Look further. She's asking about her future.
Oh, future. Oh, see, it made sense to me with features. Sorry, Tammy.
She's hoping we do a reading. She's probably from one of the other channels, and that's not really what we do here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't try to predict the future. Even when I know it, I don't say it.
Which is probably good. Yes.
Well, because it gets people. I want people to look to themselves for the answer. When we look to the future, or look to somebody who's going to do a reading, we have given away our power, and it's a reflection of just how fearful we are, and how hopeful that something out there at some point is going to bring me relief. And of course, there's nothing. It's perfectly natural. That's just the human condition. When we're suffering, we want to be out of suffering. But in this particular spiritual path, the way out of suffering is to come back to yourself, to recognize that everything you are truly seeking, no matter how it appears, is actually within you, and that the mistake, the thing that has caused poverty and lack and deprivation has been this disconnection from yourself. And unless that is healed, it doesn't matter what happens out here. It doesn't matter what the predictions are. Somebody say it's going to be a good future, and then it is. It won't last. Nothing does. You know, if you're suffering now, the circumstances that you are suffering from are not going to last. They're going to change. And Nisargadatta put it beautifully when somebody was listening to him. And he said after, asked the question after a while, he said, "Sir, everything you say resonates with me. I can feel the truth in it, but to be perfectly honest, I'm always experiencing suffering." To which Nisargadatta just shot back. He says, "No, you are not experiencing suffering. You are suffering your experience." Completely different. In one instance, I am the victim. I have to change my circumstance, or I can never be happy. I can never be free. I can never get anything. And in that one instance, it becomes, no, my suffering is caused by my reaction to the circumstances, and I have absolute control over that right now. If I think in order to be happy, I must change my circumstances, I am a slave to those circumstances my whole life. And even if I do manage to get from circumstances the things that I need, I will still be afraid. I will still be insecure because I'll be worrying about losing it. Now, this is true of multi-billionaires. They have literally billions of dollars in assets and liquid cash, and they are worried about losing it. They're not free. They're not happy. Right? So I emphasize this. Our suffering is caused by the relationship we have created with our circumstances and our underlying belief that somehow we are a victim of them. You are not. You may not have in this moment the absolute control over those circumstances, but you always have control over you. Nobody can take that away from you. And if you understand that, you'll bring your attention back to what you can control every single minute. And paradoxically, right, even though it's not the intent, when this is content and happy, it begins to manifest itself in the world. That's the true source of abundance and the true ending of poverty. When you realize that you are the riches you've been seeking, not right away, but eventually it will harmonize all the external events of your life. I can guarantee you.
Well, I think that was a perfect reading. No, sorry.
I guess I could call that a reading. Yeah.
It's interesting because, and what I would love to, I don't know, emphasize here is that a lot of people might hear that and say, so I'm supposed to love that I'm fat, love that I'm broke. No, it's okay to not like those circumstances. It's not like you snap your fingers and suddenly, oh, I'm supposed to just like it because it is what it is.
Oh, you can't like that stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, I love my heartburn. I love my diarrhea. I mean, come on, no.
Exactly.
No, but we do have to embrace our humanness, right? We can't be dismissing ourselves. We can't be running away from life. That's where the suffering comes from, right? We can't avoid that. We can't avoid the heartbreak. We can't afford, the job loss. We can't afford some little critter emerging that's making a bunch of people sick, and we can't help people are reacting in all sorts of different ways to it. None of those things we have to put a stop to. Thinking we do is just the height of human arrogance. We have to learn how to harmonize with what is, and that's where peace is. Right?
Yes. The harmonize is interesting. So a lot of people think, well, I don't like my job, but I can't quit, and I don't like this friendship, so I can't leave, and it's so tiring, and we get really drained and tired. And this comes into around a light question, actually. So this is really interesting. I was going to ask a question about lights and how we call them energy vampires, energy suckers, drainers,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's
and
what
how
life
vampires
suckers.
can't see the light. They're like, no.
No.
And so
Yes.
we brought up a question, but this is perfect because really vampires are circumstances, right? They're not
Yeah.
people itself. It's how then it, and I feel like this light reflecting or being absorbed is going to come out in this answer somehow, this lesson, with what is being reflected. Are we seeing something? I used to actually take offense. I'm very honest, everybody. I'm sharing this publicly. I would ask GP a question about somebody I didn't like doing something, and GP said, well, might be reflection of you. And I went, it is not. And so I was like, was it me? So can we go there a little bit, because I don't want people taking
Sure.
personal, like it is. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go on that one.
Sure. Of course. Vampires, demons, devils, dragons, all of they're all you. Right? What is it that's actually sucking our energy? Right? What is it that appears to just be afraid of the light? Right?
Yes.
Right? Is it somebody out there? Is it somebody? And yes, there are people out there who are so they are so disconnected from themselves. They try to get energy from other people, and they find people who are susceptible to that, who want to give their energy away. That's their way of avoiding themselves, right? We all want to avoid the dark places in us. And that those dark places in us are what are filled with vampires and demons, what we think are vampires and demons and devils and all sorts of gargoyles and all sorts of horrible creatures. And all of those images, vampires and demons and devils and dragons and gargoyles and the like, are mythological symbols for the barriers we set up between ourselves and ourselves. That those are the layers of disconnect between our true self, and so who you really are, which is nothing but light, is depicted as this gargoyle, Kerberos, the three-headed dog guarding the gates of Hades. Right? This is how we think of it. In fact, they're angels in the basement.
Which is an ebook that we'll put a link to after. It's free. Okay.
Yes, it's free. And so the you cannot be touched by anything you do not allow you to touch. You're not allowed to touch. It is always our beliefs and assumptions about ourselves are the vampires. They may be reflected in people out there, but they're just a reflection. They're not the real thing, right? If there's no, nothing can stick to you if there's nothing for it to stick to. Right? There has to be something for it to connect up to. So now I'm not. People go, "Oh my God, there's vampires inside me. There's vampires inside me." Yeah, please. It's not.
People do
it's not,
think they're possessed. Yeah, they do. They think that person's possessed or they're possessed
well,
or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, in a sense, we are. We have become so identified with a certain part of us, and so disidentified with other parts of us, even though they're us. Right? It's just kind of our disconnected, our just I'm grasping at the word, our fragmented soul. Right? And so parts of us are believed to be these entities fighting against us. It's all you inside of you. And all of these entities represent the disowned part of you. And if they're buried thoroughly enough and completely disowned, they can take over, because they are you. And we'll feel like, well, everybody experiences it. It might be an extreme case of of like it requires an exorcism or the like, or a multiple personality where one takes over and the other one completely forgets about the other. But we all have the experience of doing something you know you shouldn't do it, and there you are doing it, and there's this other part going, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, and the other part's going, yeah, well, fuck off.
Yes.
And we've all had this going, and what the hell's going on, right? And I mean, it's funny. All addictions operate that way. There's not a single person with addiction who says, gee, I love my addiction. While they're doing it, there's another part going, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, right? Yeah. But it feels like something takes over. And in a sense, it does. These are dispossessed aspects of yourself. And until they become owned and integrated into you, there will be inner conflict. There will be this fight going on. I mean, even St. Paul, right? Saintly Paul said, in utter confusion, the good that I would do, I do not, yet the evil I would not do, that I do. It's the human condition. Until we understand the true nature of identity, our true identity as consciousness or light, and the nature of conditioning and how we identified with conditioning, this will continue.
Yeah, this is it's funny. It's such a big subject. It's huge because to connect that, okay, so I'm always light. I am light, but then it can be absorbed, or it can reflect, or then I can be disconnected. And then there's this, so there's so much there. And I do want to just say, because this was a good one, a question around to this, about the disconnection. Because I am going to go into light therapy in a second. I have to ask that question. But from Bernadette, if you feel you are disconnected from emotional discord, how do we find the emotions that set us free? Could it be a safety mechanism to not hurting? And not to hurting. Yes, she's corrected herself there, not to not hurting. And I think when we think about this in the light conversation way that we're bringing this in, how can we how can we use light or recognize light or in that sense, light to not hurt?
Well, let me draw just a subtle distinction between pain and suffering.
Ooh,
right?
Okay.
Which is important. Pain is a natural mechanism in the body. You know, I stick my hand in a fire, I pull it out, right? When we get to things like emotional pain, I stick my hand in the fire, but for some reason I don't pull it out. Right? I get into a dissatisfying relationship, but I don't get out of it. And something underneath is holding you there, and then the mind makes up all sorts of reasons why you're there. Well, it's better. God is testing me. He's going to change. Right? I mean, the list is endless, but that's all on the surface. Down beneath, what's actually going on? It's a disconnect from feeling. It's that simple. You have disconnected yourself from the feelings, so your real feelings, the truthful feelings, are not being heard. They are being overridden by the false feelings, the manufactured feelings that are all a product of our conditioning from traumatic childhood. They got put into place because your true feelings were dangerous to be felt in that environment, and so they had to be suppressed. You had to assume a persona that would function within your family environment, right? Which meant different feelings, different thoughts, different behaviors, and the like. Most of which were not natural to you, but they were a requirement for survival. This is the essential schism that we all experience. And so the key is to get back in touch with those emotions. And this is where we come face to face with the demons, the dragons, the vampires, because they're guarding these. They're guarding access. I mean, one could ask, people have heard about guarding the gates of hell and Kerberos, the three-headed dog guard. Why would anything be guarding there? Who the hell wants to go there, right?
You're probably
What's there
never that.
What's like? Where's the what? It's like
Ah,
guarding the garbage dump.
right.
It's like nobody's breaking in there, buddy. Um, because that's what it really symbolizes, the underworld, and hell became this bad place you never go, right? Because that's the tribe trying to keep you from feeling, right? What it really is are all the dispossessed feelings of you, right? And yes, there are guards there because it was dangerous to feel those. And so those guards are actually are not, demons and devils. They're not bad. They're what kept you alive.
Yes. Oh, yes. And just for everybody, that refers to that safety mechanism. So these feelings that we've disowned, it's because if those demons and angels or demons didn't exist at the time, we would have not been kept safe in our belief. And yes, and that's, yeah, we're gonna have to get this book link up here, but
Yes, this is how it works. This is how the sense of a separate self gets created. And I mean, I do talk about it in that series of 7 videos on inner reconciliation with some degree of depth. Not so deep that it's a whole course, but deep enough so that you can get the taste of it, and some exercises as to how to reconnect.
yes.
Right? And it starts simply with just the willingness to be present with your feelings, even when they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And this is what we have all been trained since childhood to run away from. Now, the uncomfortable feelings in childhood had serious implications. Because if I felt some way that it exuded that feeling created a behavior that was completely out of keeping with the demands of the tribe, boy, did I hear about it. Sometimes quite severely, right? I mean, in my critical case, I had no wiggle room whatsoever, right? Just none. I mean, it was just this constant, a constant intrusion, one moment after another. And other people have different levels of severity about it. And so it becomes dangerous and even unthinkable to feel. And now look at the world we live in, right? You don't have to feel anything, right? You don't want to feel anything. You walk down the street, you're staring at your phone. You go to the beach and there are people blasting music, right? I went once camping way up in the mountains, right? In the middle of nowhere. It's like midnight, and, we're in the tent. It's like, chirping. I mean, it was just, and all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe 50 feet away, 25 yards away, somebody just arrives in their monster truck, right? The radio's blaring. I walked over and I asked them and they were just totally belligerent.
Oh.
So middle of the night, I pack up everything, get in my car to go somewhere else because I didn't go to the mountains to listen to AC/DC.
Now that's a disturbance. Oh, that was a perfect share because GP, this is, oh my gosh. Okay, I love this. I see, this is our chance to see that GP's human too. I love that. So I love that. One of my favorite things is that, and I must hear it in my head a million times. Every day I hear it for sure. I go, don't swim with sharks. Don't swim with sharks. Don't camp with monster trucks. Don't. So just because, yes, we may not like the circumstances, and it's not that we're saying stay and just be the enlightened one. Sometimes we got to pack up in the middle of the night and go. And
Yep.
it was so interesting. You answered one of my questions that I was going to ask earlier, but it came around because when you said about the difference between pain and suffering. And one, I just kind of wrote down that pain is more like a physical, we know what to do, remove ourselves from that or try to. And suffering is more emotional because one of my questions was sometimes we can see the light, let's call it, like I can see where I want to go and I need to go to feel that peace and end the suffering, but I won't go because they're not coming though, but they're not going. And this is my family. This is my tribe. I got to stay back, or they don't want me to go. They don't want me to be that because they want me to drink with them. They want me to do, stay in this crummy job or this country or this whatever. And it's that my question was, what do we do when which you answered. But it was like when we see the light or someone else sees light, but we don't want them to go and they don't want us to go. And that's suffering. That's suffering.
Yes, it is. And look, that's common spiritual experience, right? This is nothing, that you're not flawed when you come face to face with the fact that in order to step into who you are, you have to let go of who you thought you were, right?
Yes.
And suffering isn't really even emotional. It is psychological. It is a position we take against our feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings, right? I don't care even what they are. Anger, fear, they're very natural. They're supposed to be there, right? It's when we resist them or we get overly attached to them, right, that it gets out of proportion, right? And so the resistance to my own feeling, which is a result of that early conditioning and the suffering that resulted, the pain that resulted, I should put it this way, the pain that resulted from me having the feelings and expressing those feelings, right? Yeah. It needed to be avoided. And so I set up, because I can't deny the authority and the absolute power of the tribe. I can't question what they do. The shift has to come inside of me. I have to disown myself. Therefore, I have to make my feelings wrong. Yes. If I make my feelings wrong, I will consistently avoid feeling them, right? And that false belief, that false assumption is the cause of suffering. Because now I'm not feeling what a human being feels. Right. And now I'm categorizing, this is a good feeling, this is a bad feeling, this is a positive feeling, this is a negative feeling, this one I should have, this one I shouldn't have. This is morality, this is sin and virtue, right? All of it forms in that space, and it all forms around the disowning of yourself. And again, to bring it back to the main theme, the discovery of yourself is enlightenment. Yeah. It's not some mystical state.
Yes.
Right. It's not the heavens part, and it's all rainbows and unicorns and.
But unicorns and rainbows are there.
Oh well, of course, right, and angels and fairies, yes. But you'll be there too, so you'll get to see them.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to know, that to be reminded. To really, and even if it's mentally right now, just an idea. It's an idea that you're light. It's, oh, I've heard this for the first time, and it feels nice. It feels good. We're going to say some hellos, and I don't want to forget David and Elaine this time either, because and we'll do a little housekeeping. But it's a super question that came through about connecting the body and our lightness in healing. We have light therapy. We use infrared light, different, things we go to. I want to call them healing spas and salons and things like that to
which I love, by the way.
Yes, they are so pleasurable.
Anytime.
And there's another thing. So is pleasure and that kind of thing relief. So we go there usually cut out of pain, like I'm suffering or got physical pain, I need some light therapy. They say we'll heal your skin, we will remove the fibromyalgia, like all kinds of things, cancer, just fat loss. I mean, we go for light for everything. And so what is that kind of light? Is it our belief that light is healing us, or would that heal us whether we believed it or not? What's our relationship with light and healing? There you go. Finally got there.
Oh boy, big question. And we need to always make the disclaimer: GP is not a doctor.
Oh, yes.
Right. So everything I say is coming from my personal opinion and experience. Nothing should be taken as medical advice. Consult your professional. All the words that lawyers tell you put in there. You all know what they are. They all apply. Okay, that said, my experience is let me give you first, let's go for the juggler first. The essence of all of it is whatever you believe creates your experience. If I believe it works, it works. Not because it itself has any inherent power, but because you do, and you project it onto that. This is what Buddha meant when he said that nothing has a self. There are no self in persons, no self in things, and no self in teachings. He didn't mean that there was no self. It wasn't nihilistic. He meant that the object of your senses that you are attributing power to doesn't have any. It's all you. It's all a projection of the mind. And those are literally the words he used. It is a projection of the mind. Therefore, your power, because you have become disconnected and disowned yourself, you believe that that power is out there. And therefore you experience it as if it was out there. And so I believe in this thing. I take it, I go through the process, I get well. I say, it healed me. Right? Yes. There's a story that was printed a long time ago, 100 plus years ago, and it was printed in, it's either the Lancet or the New England Journal of Medicine, which are the two premier journals. I mean, that's where the official papers get published, right? If it's published there, it's regarded as this is legitimate science. So this was like a very long time ago, and this doctor just recounted the experience he had. A man who was very sick, and was at death's door. And he had no idea. It was mysterious. He could not figure out what the problem was. And the man asked him, and he says, I cannot figure out what the problem is. They said, there's nothing I can do unless I know what it is. Well, later, the man overheard him. He was talking to a nurse outside, and the nurse asked him, right? Well, and he said to her, moribundum, right? Which is simply the Latin word for death, right? You know, it was over. There was nothing he could do. Well, the next day he comes in to see the man, and the man is up. He's dressed. He's well. And he says, doctor, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the doctor says, for what? He says, you cured me. You figured out what it was. It was moribundum.
Oh, wow. Oh.
His belief had been fulfilled, and therefore he now had permission to heal, and immediately his body responded and conformed itself to the dominant belief because his faith in it was so strong. Because it was his faith in the doctor and the whole process of everything that now got transferred over to that, and suddenly he could be well. Now this is documented in medical journals, and this is not this is not just totally anecdotal. This stuff has known, right? Ideologically, medicine can't absorb it, right? I mean, to this day, the evidence for childhood trauma and adult illness, physical illnesses, everything, fibromyalgia, ALS, cancer, related to childhood trauma is indisputable. It's not controversial, right? And yet there's not one lecture, let alone a course, taught in any medical school about trauma.
Right. Yes.
It is completely oriented towards the physiology, this split between mind and body, which you can't split. They're not two.
Right. So it's not like one is light and one isn't, because it's all light. It's
yes.
Is our beliefs? I guess they are then. So I was going to say, our beliefs light.
Yes, they are. They're a frequency of they're a frequency of light. Look, red light and violet light are both light.
Right.
Red light is just vibrating at a slower frequency than violet light. That's the only difference. They're both the same. The body, thoughts, emotions, sensations, they're all made of the same thing. They're the same essence, the same substance, simply vibrating, if you will, at different frequencies. It's not quite like that, but it's the best metaphor I can come up with. Yeah, the body is light. Thoughts are light. Everything is light. And I refer to, when I teach the chakras, I refer to this 8th chakra, which I call the light at the center. Mm-hmm. And light in its purest form can't be seen.
Right.
When it's seen in one form, it takes the form of a body. In the other form, it takes the form of desire. Another one, emotions. Another one, ego. Another, thoughts. Another, vision. Another, I mean, all of it are simply different aspects of exactly the same substance. Our job is to identify with the invisible light of which all of this are aspects. So I'm out of hanging onto Shiva's wheel and spinning around, and and I'm at the center where I belong.
Yes.
That's where you really live, is at the center. Right? We have identified ourselves with the appearance of light, the reflected light, rather than the source of light. We even refer to source energy as if it was something other than me.
Yes. Yes, we absolutely do. Yes. That actually really, sorry, I did laugh a little because I did imagine you hanging on to Shiva's wheel spinning around. So, because it's what we all feel like we're kind of doing. And that really, I love that part. That really wrapped that up, helped me to, if we think about the chakras, they are each aspects of like our beliefs, our aspects, our all those things you just said. And I'd have to go back in the replay because I love it. They gave form to light. We imagined the form around this part of the light, like in a kaleidoscope almost, like making little forms, and it is all one. And it's like it's being trying to drill it into our minds that don't stop separating it. We have to just like, you are one, we are one. And so I won't go into it on this show, but maybe we'll do a show on the whole vibration thing. But it does give me an opportunity I do want to invite people because GP, you are partnering with some two other wonderful, beautiful spiritual teachers, Kevin and Stephen. And we have a free event to invite everybody to. And I want to make sure I get this in because they have a school and it's called Raising Our Vibration. And that kind of just fit there nicely. But we'd love to have you there. And it's, I have to remember, I know it's Awaken. I'm trying to think of my gosh.
It's always gpwalsh.com/something.
Yes. So everybody, it's this Saturday, the 24th. I know it's at my 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 12 p.m. Pacific. And it's going to be like 3-4 hours. Like we've got, because we have everything from Qigong to meditation to more self-inquiry. GP's going to be doing that. Kevin's there, and Stephen, and I'm going to be hosting it. Can you imagine that? And so lots of free exercises. I want to call them exercises, but it'll be talking and because there'll be meditation, so that's exercise. But we do need you to let us know that you are coming. And so we ask you to go to gpwalsh.com/awaken and just register so that we know you're there, and you get the Zoom link and you can pop on. It's like in a few days. It's coming up so quickly. Yeah, we've got a bunch of people already coming.
Yes, we do. And it's really good for us to know. So if you do that, we'd appreciate it. It's going to be broadcast here on YouTube, on my channel. So, we're trying to put it out to as many people as possible. We're not trying to make it a private event. We're not going to sell anything, right? And then hound you for days after, right?
Right.
It really is just a gift, but it does help us to let us know about it. In terms of the replay, it'll obviously be on YouTube for perpetuity. If you do register, I will also have it up on my site, and it would make it easy for you. If you're a register, I can give you a link directly to it. Otherwise, you may have to just kind of sort through YouTube to find it, but it'll be there. It'll be there forever.
Yes. Yeah. And what I like about this is it's so interesting when, as teachers, you guys show up, we do our thing, and it's a beautiful, I think it's really beautiful when we come together and weave it together. So it's, whether you want to call it a rainbow of light all there together, or the tapestry, or all those beautiful words, but I really like the energy that all of us bring together, and I just know that so many people are going to feel such, it's just a different modalities, different ways of doing this. So we want to say hello to everybody, and that was one of our biggest invitations, because we'd love to see you there, but also making it really easy. If you're not part of GP Walsh Spiritual Teacher, the Facebook private group, please come on over. And after that, the next step, of course, is to go to gpwalsh.com and get onto the light letter. That way you'll know when we're doing these, when we're doing everything, and then all this, like, you'll just know so much. I think that's actually the best way, is to get on the list, and then you can ask us all kinds of questions between the group and being on the list, because there's a patron program, and there's there's just so much available. And so everybody's saying thank you right now for being here. And Creative Revolution. So Suzanne was able to get here, and Penny and Bernadette and Donna and David and Elaine. We said Faith, and then Tammy's been fun, and Jay, Stacy. Just good morning to everybody, and hello, and Robbie's there. We got some people, and GP with the light. With closing off the light. That sounds terrible. How dare I?
Good luck.
Yeah. The light is such. We don't need to call more light in, then do we? Or do we? Because that's a big one. People always say, I'm sending you love and light, or they I would like to call upon the light, or I'd like to use light as my protection.
Yes.
What is the best way to use light then, if we are light?
It's kind of like this. I need more light. I really need more light. Open your eyes.
Right.
You don't need more of the infinite. Right?
Yeah.
What we do need to do is to begin to remove from our minds all the beliefs and assumptions that make us believe that somehow our infinite being has become constricted. It hasn't. It is all belief. You have not been forced into a shape and now have to find some way to get out of it. You have been forced into the belief that you are a shape. You never were forced into that shape. This is the difference between your being and conditioning. You know, even light is affected by what it passes through. If it passes through water, or it passes through a translucent, or it passes through a filter that only puts one color out, the light remains the light.
Yes.
Yet it too is experienced through whatever the particular conditioning that it has experienced. Right? The thing with the human being is that we identify with the conditioning, which is simply a circumstance we happen to be passing through in the moment, and we take it to be a permanent condition, and now I think I am that. But the I is always the light. The I is always that which is beyond what can be seen or known. It is always beyond everything. You know, the water may hang out in the shoe for a very long time, but it is still the water. Right? It's never going to be the shoe.
Yes. I love that. I'm going to love that. That really changed a lot too. That, light is also affected by what it is filtered through, and which is just a condition. That is so beautiful. That I think that gives a lot of people a lot of like now we need to reflect almost and go, okay, because I think some shifting is done in the nervous system, perhaps for some people here, me included.
Yes.
And as we know, it does take time when we feel something, when we've been revealed, when we've taken off, when we've opened up our eyes or taken off the sleeping mask. And
the spiritual journey is not the gaining of knowledge. This is this stuff you have to chew and swallow, right? Because it is completely the opposite of everything you've been taught. You may even have to struggle over it a bit, right? Remember, people dedicate their lives to this, right?
Yes. And
traditionally, this was taught in monasteries, right? You literally dedicated your life to it, right? Yes. This wasn't something that you went to a weekend retreat, right? You can have an experience on a weekend retreat, but you cannot wake up on a weekend retreat, right? Unless you're so primed that fruit is just ready to drop from the tree, and then it just takes a little from the teacher, right? But for the most part, we need to puzzle over these things, right? Mm-hmm. We need to go, if what he's saying is true, and you don't have to believe me, but if what he's saying is true, this is the answer to everything. This is the answer to all suffering. This is the cause of all the shit I'm going through.
Yes.
Right? This is worth looking at, right? Maybe I'll find he's completely full of that, right? But the only way you're going to find out that I'm wrong is that you find out what's right. So as far as I'm concerned, go ahead.
It's worth it. It is worth it. And
worth it.
A quick note, GP, it really is worth becoming a patron because we are actually going to go pop on over.
You are good. You are so good.
I have to grab GP now. I have to say goodbye to everybody here and thank him because we are going to go over and do, GP is going to spend some time with the patron group. Now, I must say it's $15 a month. That's it. You get so much organized content, extra one of these lives and everything where you actually do get. So right now we're doing the show. So the Flow Live, it's our show. And we're so happy to have you interact with us. But in those VIP groups, we do get quite a bit more interaction and you can get some more answers and questions and ask all those things. So we'll bump off and say goodbye. We'll come back next Tuesday, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. And we're here for you, whatever you guys need. Thank you so much, GP.
Thanks, everybody. And I'll see the patrons in just a moment.
Okay, we'll see you there. Okay, bye.
Bye.